I just got back from PAX, so what better day than today to discuss the importance of video game reviews? Hey guys, it's Alex O'Neill. This is Alex Talks, where I kind of sit and I chat to you, the viewer, about something. And the something is always about video games, but I try and mix it up sometimes. Sorry I'm a day late on this. This is coming out probably like really late in the night, Wednesday, maybe even Thursday morning. My voice was completely gone Monday, Tuesday. It's still, you can still kind of hear it rasping. So I didn't. I thought about it. I'm like, hey, I could record Alex Talks, but I'll sound like a ghost, and no one wants to hear that. So I did it a day late. Sorry if that fucks you up. I'm sorry. But yeah, if you are new to Alex Talks and this is your first episode, since I met a lot of new people at PAX, hello. I'm Alex O'Neill, as I mentioned before. I'm about to talk about video games. Today, I kind of wanted to jettison back into my more topical episodes, which is Tuesday. Normally, this comes out on Tuesday, and I talk more about a general topic that we can all kind of find some common ground on in video games. But I wanted to talk about video game reviews, and it's something that I brought up on the podcast pretty recently. If you don't already listen to Irrational Passions podcast, please check it out. But a lot of people, if you write about video games, I feel like at some point in your career of writing about video games, you question whether or not video game reviews are like necessary at all. I mean, let's be real. We have all read a video game review, and by read, I mean we've all done the same thing where we click the review, scroll to the bottom of the page, see the score, and then close the window. We've all done it. I've done it several times. I still do it to this day, although I read more and more because I find that, a number just doesn't tell me everything I want to know. Like, for example, if I'm excited about Dark Souls 2, I already wrote a Dark Souls 2 review, which you can check out. But if I'm excited about it and I was a fan of Dark Souls 1, which I was, and I wanted to know if Dark Souls 2 was good for me, was it a right choice? Should I jump right into it? Or has the fact that there's a new director and that it's the first numbered sequel in a Souls series, has that changed it too much? Again, I'm clearly the informed reader. If I want to know that, I would want to read the review. I want to see the critique of the game, not just, is it good, is it bad? Is it generally good or is it generally bad? And I think the nuances there are important, and like that's something I hit on in my Dark Souls review. For instance, I say, this is Dark Souls for the modern era. It's streamlined. It actually makes sense as a modern video game, unlike Dark Souls and Demon's Souls, where, for example, each game has a stat that is pretty much completely useless. In Dark Souls, it was resistance. It really didn't change anything. And if you poured your points into it because you're like, oh, resistance, that sounds fucking important, I should put points in that. And then you waste all of that, and then you can't respec at the end. But Dark Souls 2 has, to my knowledge, no stat like that, and also you can respec in Dark Souls 2. So it feels like a modern game in that, it doesn't punish the player for ridiculous things. And that's good. But, would the average reader want to know that? Do they care? Do they care how this compares to Dark Souls 1? Or is the fact that it's a review, it's a recent game, they just want to know if it's good or not? Are they clicking it, scrolling to the bottom of the page, or on Irrational Passions right there at the top of the page to see the number, and they're just moving on? I mean, that's kind of like, I firmly believe, I'm the editor-in-chief of Irrational Passions, so I kind of dictate the format of our reviews. I firmly believe that we should at least focus one area that we know will more likely be read. But going into writing a review, I tell my editors and my writers that it's most likely no one's going to read this. But, you should put it out there in the way you feel about the game. You should, as kind of like a closing experience to the game, this review should be your catharsis. It should be your epilogue to playing the game. This is your final input, and that's your review. And I tell them, or at least I've said in the past, the closing comments or closing thoughts or whatever your website does. That's the most important part of the review. That is where you need to break it down literally in the most simplest of terms. Like say, Dark Souls 2 is a change of pace for the Souls series in that it's streamlined, but it's still beautiful, it's still fun, it's still agonizing, it's still punishing. It's all still there, and you should play it if you've played the other Souls games. Like, that's a closing comments section. That's something you can end a review on, and most likely people will scroll to the bottom of the page, read the closing comments, and read the score, and that's their opinion on your review. That's it. So, like, do reviews even matter anymore? Like, that's the question. I think so. I want to say yes. There's a part of me that knows that there'll always be numbers with names behind them. Like, it'll always be Dark Souls 2, 9.0, Alex O'Neill. That's all some people are going to see. And that's fine. Like, we live in a reality where half of everything doesn't even get read. There are books out there that no one will ever even read, or a few people have read and they were fantastic and they tell everyone to read them, but no one's ever going to read them. It's a sad reality where people just act like they don't have time to read anything. And in some cases it's true, some cases it's not. But especially when it comes to reviews, almost no one cares about the text of the review, and that's a problem, And then you have the conversation that's, well, how do we get people to engage in reviews more? Well, you can do video reviews where people just look at pretty lights from the game, and then they hopefully hear what the critic is saying. But, in reality, the people that are going to engage with the review and the reviewer are the people that are going to do that. And the people that are going to look at the score, and if they like it, say, good review at the bottom, or if they don't like it, say, this is garbage, did you even play the game, even though the game's not even out? You're going to break off into those sections, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I still think that reviews are important. I still think that people, as critics, should know how to review things, should know how to approach a review, especially a video game review, and know how to write one. I think that you shouldn't be, for example, an editor who talks about video games if you don't know how to review and critique a game in your own words, if you don't know how to summarize the thoughts and the feelings that you got from a game in your own words, then I don't think you should be writing, editorials or opinion pieces, because I feel like reviews are kind of like the staple of games writing. And I'm not going to go into this games journalism debate, because I'm one of those people that don't quite think it's games journalism, but it's a case-by-case basis. But I think that being able to review a game and being able to look at a game as a piece of art as a whole, right? And kind of put your thoughts on a page about it in a succinct manner is super important. And being able to do that with anything is super important. And I think it shows you as a critic and as a reviewer and as a writer have a basic understanding of what makes games tick. Like, I like to review games because I like to compare games to one another in like a grand scheme and find the interconnecting games that I like and see if I can break them down and find the motifs between those games that I, as a reviewer, will push me to a higher score. I think that's fascinating, and the way I do it in my head as I'm writing is something unique to me, and I've discovered that as I've written reviews, and I think that's important for any reviewer out there. So if you're sitting there thinking, like, game reviews don't even matter anymore because no one ever reads them. You could always you could go the Kotaku route, which I very much respect, and don't put scores on your reviews. You write a review and that's it. Or two, I think you should just write your review and put the score you want to put on it, and write it for you more than you write it for anyone else. Yes, a review at its base should be advising someone whether or not to buy a product, but the reality is every reviewer's different, every game's different, so you might hate this game, but that does not change the fact that you gave it a 6 and somebody out there might give it a 9. that is a fact of life. There will always be someone who liked the game more than you or liked the game less than you. That's just the reality we live in. It pertains to books, it pertains to movies, anything you could review, people, things, places, I don't care. Someone is going to like it more, someone is going to like it less. But that doesn't make reviews any less important to the people who actually write them. And that's why I think reviews are important. I find them, it's kind of, I mentioned it earlier, it's catharsis. It is a catharsis for me because it's just, this is my final note on this game. This is me saying goodbye to it and closing the book. And I think that's really cool. Like, it gives me a new feeling. Like, when I beat a game, I've beaten it, but when I review a game, I have put my thoughts on a page about that game, and it's out there, and anyone can read and share in that experience that I had. Because my reviews, at least I hope, tend to completely and accurately illustrate the experience I had with that game. But like I said, I can only hope. All right, guys, no Twitter question this week, but I do want to say, if you haven't been paying attention, me and my team just got back from PAX East. We're all exhausted and tired, but nonetheless, we will keep moving forward as far as content. Check out irrationalpassions.com. We have so much content up there. It's unbelievable. I'm super proud of my writing team. There's a bunch of great stuff up there. If you want to see some of the stuff I wrote, I was part of a 3-part preview for Evolve. I got to play the monster, and it was awesome. I played Below, which may be the perfect game for me. You'll have to read my preview to find out. I played Hyperlight Drifter, which is super cool. I played Darknet with Zach, which is really dope. It's on Oculus Rift, and you should check out that preview. There's also a little bit of an interview in that. And I sat down for 15 minutes with a guy from Firaxis, Will, the lead designer, on Civilization Beyond Earth, which I could not be more excited for. That sounds like an incredible Civilization game, I'll tell you what. So go to irrationalpassions.com and check out our PAX content. Other than that, you should follow me on Twitter, because I will be talking about PAX there and whatnot, and you can tweet your topics for this Alex Talks to me there, and I will read them. I will read all of them, of course. And you can talk to me, because I like to talk to you guys, because you guys are the best. And also, irrationalpassions.com, if I haven't mentioned it enough already, Irrational Passions podcast, please download, subscribe to that. And yeah, just follow me here. I guess I'm the only one that really posts on the YouTube channel, but the podcast goes up every Friday night in video form, and Alex Talks goes up Tuesdays and Fridays. I missed yesterday. I'm sorry. My voice was shot, and I hope you guys understand. But I guess until Friday, which is when I will talk to you guys next, you guys have a good week, and I'll talk to you guys then.